knows how you come across somebody once in a while you shouldn't have messed with. That's me.
Well,
I am not an African American.
You're Oreo cookie, white in the inside and black on the outside.
I don't have an afro, I have an Amerifro.
Talking that idiotic stuff you talk about, I will slap you.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Black as the ace of spades, but 100% American.
Heard around the world by everybody and their mama. The Jesse Lee Peterson Radio Show.
I've been saying for years that white Americans need to get over the fear of being called racist and this false guilt about what's wrong with black people, and that most blacks are suffering not because of racism from white folks, but like a moral character. And that black people have been encouraged to hate whites and discriminate against them from the so-called civil rights leaders and others, and that this is evil, and evil get worse from generation to generation if you don't deal with it. Well, it's out of control. I have with me Colin Flaherty. He is an award-winning reporter whose work has appeared in more than 1,000 news sites around the world, including the Washington Post, New York Times, Los Angeles Times, NPR, and many others. His book is White Girl Bleed Alot: The Return of Racial Violence to America and How the Media Ignores It. Colin, good morning, sir, and welcome to the show.
Honored to be here, sir.
Man, it's absolutely an honor to have you on. I want to first talk to you about a recent article that you wrote on worldnetdaily.com, and you talk about black mobs terrorizing one of the whitest big cities in the country, and that is Seattle, Washington. In your article, you write that Seattle, Washington is one of America's whitest big city, with 66% of residents saying they are non-Hispanics, whites in 2010 census. So I didn't know that Seattle, Washington was the #1 whitest city.
Well, it's the racial dynamic in Seattle is a lot different. So you would think maybe that the street crime might be different.
Yeah.
But in Seattle, I was totally surprised that they have their own brand, very nasty racial violence, racial lawlessness. And I think one of the reason people move to Seattle is they think that's where you go to get away from all that.
Right.
So they're always kind of surprised when it rears its ugly head.
Because when I first read your article, you mentioned that it was the #1 whitest city. I would think about moving there next week. But then as I read further on and realized the violence that's happening there is absolutely amazing to me. Tell the folks about some of the black mob recent attacks in Seattle.
They take a lot of shapes and forms. When I wrote the book, I actually wrote a book about this, that the article is kind of an excerpt from when I was updating my book. So this is happening in cities all over the country, hundreds of incidents, more than 70 cities in the last 2 years. But Seattle's a good example. I mean, every city has a gay neighborhood. Of course, the newspapers don't tell you that. But in the gay neighborhood of Seattle, there's been some horrific violence, black on gay, black on Asian violence. People are dying. And, 10 years ago, somebody like me would come on the air and say, listen, we've got people that are getting killed and this is happening and that's happening. A lot of the liberals would say, well, that's not really true, Colin. But now, because of YouTube, we can see it.
Yeah, let me take
we see all the violence on the subways. We see it at other places.
Let me take a quick break, Colin. We'll come back and pick up on this. 888-77-53773. White Americans, I warn you again. You better wake up. It is happening, and it is true. Back in a moment.
You're simply the best. Better than all the rest. Better than anyone.
Okay, welcome back. Jesse Lee Peterson is here. Thank you for being with me. Taking your phone calls at 888-77-53773. White Americans do not understand what they are doing by allowing this to happen, and that generation of black people have been trained or encouraged to hate white folks. And these kids are growing up without good parents in their homes, and they're angry about that, and they're taking it out on white folks because they've been told that it's white racism that's holding them back, and it's absolutely not true, but it is out of control. Collins, you write that in 2010, and I saw the video on this, a pregnant woman and her boyfriend were attacked by 5 black women on a bus. Tell us about that.
Well, it was, it's funny how often these attacks happen on public transit. So I was just in the Seattle bus system. A pregnant woman and her boyfriend are in the back of the bus, surrounded by a bunch of black people, and there was some kind of words exchange. Next thing you know, they're getting kicked in the face and hit. And the boyfriend says, "Hey, my girlfriend's pregnant." And one of the attackers says, "We won't hit her in the stomach." And then there was a pause. Everybody started laughing. Then they started beating them up again. My book is really about 2 things. It's about this unbelievable violence, groups of black people all over the country. This is happening, not just one-on-one, but I focus on the groups.
Yeah.
But really, the crazier thing than that, which is the second part of the book, which is what we've woven in, is how the media reports or doesn't report the violence. And that, to me, what's crazier, the person who does the violence or the person who covers it up and enables it? I don't know, but they're both pretty crazy.
Last year, we saw a lot, as you said, we saw a lot of this happening. It was because of the video cameras in different stores and places where black mobs were going around the country and openly just robbing white businesses, attacking white folks, calling them crackers and different names. And not only was the media not reporting it, it didn't seem that the police officers around the country were doing much about it. Did you notice that as well?
Oh, that's one of another theme in the book is how often these crimes aren't reported. So, there's a case, my book is called White Girl Bleed Alot, which takes its title from a black woman standing over a white girl who was bleeding, and the black girl called out to her friends, "White girl bleed a lot." Well, this was 50 to 100 black people went to a store, robbed it, went to a 4th of July party a couple blocks away, beat up the 10 people at the party, and they called the cops. The cops just said, "Okay, move along." The next day they go to the police station and they said, "What happened to those people who beat us up?" The guy at the police station said, "What are you talking about?" The cops never took a report. This happens all the time. These crimes are they're underreported not only by the press, but underreported by the police. Who just don't want a lot of police don't want any part of this racial violence.
And why is that? If it was the other way around, cops and the media and everybody and their mama would be all over it if it were white people going around attacking blacks. Why is it that they're holding back when it's blacks attacking whites?
It's what you said at the beginning of the show, and I've never really heard it put quite so well about how people are afraid of being called racist. Reporting on black mob violence and prosecuting black mob criminals, it just puts some people at a bigger risk than they want to take. Melissa Harris Perry, if your listeners who are lucky enough not to watch MSNBC.
Oh yeah.
She's a black woman with her own show on the weekends, and a few weeks ago I wrote an article about how she had an Arab woman on who was talking about this horrific violence against Arab women by Muslims in the Arab world. So they brought out a professor from Harvard, and the Harvard professor and Melissa Harris Perry had this long conversation about whether the news media should report a violence against Muslims or violence against black people because it makes them look bad.
888-7753-773, 888-77-JESSE. This is amazing to me. It's just mind-blowing, folks. Back in a moment.
Say what you need to say. Say what you need to say. I knew that I would not. So good, so good. I got you. Wow, I feel nice.
Colin Flaherty is with me. His book is White Girl Bleed Alot, The Return of Racial Violence to America and How the Media Ignores It. Maybe this will help white folks to get over their fears. I highly recommend that you get this book, folks. I really, really do. This is some serious stuff that's happening. And since Barack Obama has been in the White House, it has only gotten worse because Obama himself is a racist. And you just see how he has promoted this stuff while pretending that he's not promoting it. It's a mess. It's a mess. And I want my America back. We're not going to get it by having fear. So what's going to happen it doesn't seem that the police officers or white people are going to change from this fear or overcome this fear anytime soon. What's going to happen and how will this end?
Man, I don't have the slightest idea. I wrote this book because my brother and I do we do a talk show in Wilmington, Delaware. So I started hearing about these flash mobs in Philadelphia, and I said, well, that doesn't sound right. Just 1,000 kids on the streets and doing all sorts of bad things, and I don't know. It doesn't sound right. So I started looking into it, started looking at YouTube, and these were race riots. So I said to my brother and to other reporters, I said, these are race riots. And they said, no, they're not. So everybody is in 100% denial about what's happening.
Yeah.
So I decided I'm going to write a book for the deniers. And it's just going to be a staccato drum beat. It's like, this happened here, this happened there. No explanations, no apologies, no solutions, just this is happening. So if we can get people to acknowledge it's happening, then we can start talking about solutions or what's going to happen a year from now. But it's amazing the capacity of people to look at this, read the stuff in the book and go, oh, that's not happening.
My producer told me that you told her about a story in Atlanta that hasn't been published yet by Warnet Daily. Are you able to tell us about the story at this point?
Yeah, just came out last night, so it's out now at WND.com. Every city, you could basically write almost the same story in every city. I mean, every city is slightly different. Atlanta has this, for example, has this big festival in the summer. It's called Screen on the Green, where you get 15,000 people to watch a movie outside. 2 years ago, they were watching Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen, when hundreds of black people tore through the crowd, beating people up, stealing stuff. And this took a nasty turn. They started targeting gay people. So after the thing's over, nobody really talked about what it was, but some of the gay people did. And, the newspaper says one thing, but the people, the internet and talk radio, the people who are there, they don't feel the need to sugarcoat it. They will tell you what's going on. And so, Atlanta, and lots of robberies, lots of videotape, lots of gay bashing in Atlanta, and the papers down there aren't very eager to talk about it.
I'm surprised that the gay people are so quiet about it because normally they cry discrimination right away, especially with these type of attacks. They claim that, they've been hurt because they're gay. They've been beat up because they're gay. Why are they so quiet on it? It's the same fear?
It's the same fear, and part of it has to be, I see a lot of this, and I just keep going back to the Stockholm Syndrome, where when people are captives, they're so grateful to their captives for not doing worse things to them. They start to sympathize and empathize with the captives. No, that's a big thing in the book. A little chapter in the book is about that exact point. It's like there are some gay people that say, where's the outrage? This black on gay violence, very, very nasty. It's very violent.
So white people just arming up and protecting their homes. But how about when they're out in the public? Because in many cities, you can't carry a concealed weapon with you, right?
That's correct. I'm not a big concealed carry expert, but there's a lot of people that are just saying, you better start defending yourself, and you better start paying attention to this, because some people are getting hurt because they do not.
So black racism is just going to get worse from what I'm hearing now. I am very, very concerned about this. I saw this coming some 22 years ago. And in my speeches that I give around the country, I encourage white people to get over that fear, because when I ask white people, are you afraid of being called racist when it comes to dealing with black people? Most of the people in the audience raise their hand. Yes, they are afraid. They got to get past this, Colin. Otherwise, we are headed for something in this country that we should not and don't want to have to deal with between the races.
Well, I knew when I wrote this book that I was kind of walking into that minefield. So I don't like it either. But you know what? This is too important to ignore anymore.
Thank you for being with me, man. I enjoyed talking to you. God bless you.
Thank you, Reverend.
All right. Back in a moment, folks.
This has been the Jesse Lee Peterson Radio Show, produced by Bond Action. To access the full version of this show, visit us on the web at bondaction.org.